following message is transmitted at the request of the Washington State National Guard. The military forces along the established blockade around King County have been
Hello?
This is Randy Gray from the U.S. government, and I'm legally obliged to keep track of the blockade and how it's going. Have you had any issues so far, as well as any breaching attempts?
No. Not at all. Everything is absolutely fine down here. No worries down here, sir.
What was that?
Nothing.
Hey, are you sure everything's alright down there?
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Portland Police Department in conjunction with the Multnomah County Emergency Management. The Portland Police Department is advising all residents to remain indoors at this time. Police are on the lookout for several wanted persons in connection with a series of killings in the Portland area. The suspects were last seen escaping from the St. John's Medical Center, located near exit 10 of Interstate 84. The suspects were described as 3 middle-aged men dressed in suits. They were also reported to have been acting abnormally. If you observe anyone that matches the description, notify the authorities immediately. Do not attempt to interact with the suspects, as they may be hostile towards you. This coincides with an uptick in hospitalizations in the Portland area. Hospitals have reported that many of the recent admittances seem to be very similar to each other. Most patients had similar symptoms. 7 of the reported patients have died. This points towards the beginning of a flu epidemic in the Portland area. It is unlikely that this is the same virus that prompted the quarantine of Seattle. However, residents should remain cautious. Wash your hands each time after going outside. Cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze.
I'm sending you this message on behalf of Randy Grave. He was tasked with keeping up to date with the Seattle blockade, a legal requirement. However, it has come to his attention that the military in charge of the blockade have been lying and covering up their failures. The military blockade, according to our new information, was breached recently. However, when Mr. Grave checked up on this, they insisted there were no issues and nothing had occurred. It was only when cases began to rise in nearby cities that it became apparent the blockade had been breached. Their attempts to cover up their abject failure has put this nation at risk, as the virus is no longer contained. As such, the President has requested we take swift and decisive measures to restrict the spread of the virus. He plans to crack down on travel between cities and contain the virus in certain areas. The military stationed in Seattle have been dealt with, and actions to prevent further spread of this virus will soon be taken. As government officials, you should implement restrictions to prevent the virus from entering urban areas, particularly if you serve the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. Goodbye, and good luck.
This is an urgent message from the Washington State government. Due to recent events in Seattle, government officials have been prompted to initiate health-related restrictions across the entire state. This is to prevent the highly contagious and extremely vulnerable virus originating in Seattle from spreading farther than it already has, as it has recently been confirmed that the military blockade surrounding King County was breached and thus allowed the virus to spread outside of the Seattle quarantine zone. Furthermore, recent studies by the CDC have confirmed that this virus is completely novel and far deadlier than any flu virus. Its composition is similar to that of the Ebola virus, predominant in Africa and notorious for having an extremely high mortality rate, and virologists heavily suspect that this new virus is a distant relative of the original Ebola virus. The virus type has been named Plaxiovirus, and the specific strain is being referred to as K17BXVI. Its origin and its index host are still unknown. This virus is especially dangerous due to its ability to destroy the mind of its hosts and drive them into a homicidal rage with a thirst for blood. Effective immediately, all possible methods of transportation outside of the state are now being shut down and enforced by a legion of National Guard troops. All highways that go out of state are being cut off. All flights in Washington state are now grounded until further notice. If you conspire with others and attempt to violate these laws by crossing the state border, you, along with any other accomplices, will be shot on sight. These emergency laws are meant to be taken extremely seriously. You will be considered an enemy of the state if you attempt to violate these guidelines. At this time, there is no clear time frame for when the restrictions will be lifted. Surface streets will remain open, however, all businesses or privately funded institutions will close down. All public facilities will also remain closed. You will have rations from the government delivered to your household every week, including 7 days' worth of non-perishable food, water, emergency medical supplies, and clothing. If you begin to experience symptoms of K17BXVI, call the authorities immediately, and you will be taken to a secure location, where you will be quarantined and monitored for at least 2 weeks. If your mind begins to become affected by the virus, you will be killed as a safety precaution. Failure to comply will result in dire consequences and severe legal punishment, or possibly even execution.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the United States Armed Forces along with the Centers for Disease Control. Within the past 2 weeks, all states along and near the American Pacific coastline have experienced a complete surge in cases of the K17BXVI virus originating from Seattle. This virus is extremely dangerous and has the ability to take control of the host's brain, provoking a homicidal rage. Anyone who has caught the virus is to be considered as lost, and thus they should be discarded immediately. Military forces in the region are depleted due to the rapid spread of K17BXVI, and local law enforcement is not equipped to deal with this. Due to the circumstances, the Department of Defense has enacted an emergency protocol reserved for this type of situation. Under this directive, martial law will be declared in the following states: Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. Residents in major cities in these states are advised to evacuate immediately, as military forces will be conducting a full sweep of largely populated areas, killing anyone they see in order to slow down the spread of K17BXVI. Do not use highways for travel. Highways must be kept open in order to ensure efficient travel for armed forces. An additional alert will be sent out providing updates on the locations of government-sanctioned shelters. Keep in mind these shelters have limited capacity, so not everyone will be able to seek refuge there. Reported onset symptoms of K17BXVI include, but are not limited to, violent coughing fits, chills, sweating, bloodshot eyes, an extremely painful burning sensation in the head or stomach, headaches, vomiting blood, and slurred speech. If someone you know is showing even one of these symptoms, leave them immediately. They are as good as dead. Do not be sentimental, as they will eventually be consumed by this virus and kill you. Remain vigilant, and remain safe at all costs.